She was not a Hollywood starlet, nor a beauty queen, nor an heiress to a vast fortune. Priscilla Beaulieu was an ordinary young girl like millions of others, and yet she was special. But after becoming the king's wife, she never became the queen of his heart. You're on the Frozen History Channel, and let's get to the bottom of this tragic story together. With Elvis Presley, they met in the fall of 1959. 24-year-old Presley was doing his military service in Bad Homburg, Germany, and was already a celebrity. He tried to be a good soldier. Together with everyone was scrubbing the barracks, learned to navigate the terrain, to make marching throws and collect disassembled weapons at speed, and yet his service was not real. He was the only soldier who did not live on the base of the 3rd Armored Division. The leadership allowed Elvis to settle on Gotha with relatives. He brought his father and grandmother to Germany, and after a day of labor he was waiting for a home-cooked dinner with relatives in a spacious house with stucco and a garden. In his homeland remained his fiancée, Lil Beatty, Anita Wood, singer and actress. Elvis' mother Gladys liked her a lot, and when his mother was gone, Anita came to mean even more to him, but that didn't stop him from having affairs in Germany. Girls were hanging on him and looking for meetings with him. In the first days in Germany, he had an affair with a young German girl, Margaret Burgen, and even met her parents. He knew how to charm from the start, sang, played the guitar, radiantly smiled. Then suddenly he decided to settle in his 19-year-old Elizabeth Stefanik, an admirer who came for an autograph. Having met the girl's parents, he said, "You have a very serious and responsible daughter. Just such a secretary with knowledge of German and I need." Elizabeth settled in the adjoining room next to Elvis's bedroom. It took her a little while to realize that there were other girls in that bedroom besides her. Elvis actually lived with Elizabeth, who was in love with him, wrote long, tender letters to Anita, and had an affair with the young actress Vera Chekova. And at that moment, he met a schoolgirl, Priscilla. The girl moved from the United States to Germany at the place of service of Captain Beaulieu, whom she considered her father. In fact, he was her stepfather. And at the age of 14, it was a shock and tragedy for her. She felt very lonely in Germany and missed her American friends. She was pretty as a picture and looked much older than her years. Her constant presence at the Eagle Cafe, where American soldiers gathered, surprised no one. Someone of Elvis's buddies invited Priscilla to a party in Bad Homburg. She conquered Presley at first sight. Dusk beautiful, dressed in a blue sailor suit with a collar and white sock slippers, she seemed the embodiment of innocence and purity. And add to that the marvelous combination of blue eyes and dark hair. Those were Elvis's 2 favorite colors. He looked only at her, sang her a few songs, took her by the hand and took her to meet his grandmother. Presley told her, "I'm going to treat you like a sister and I'm not going to do you any harm." After several dates between Priscilla and Presley, Captain Beaulieu decided to ask Elvis some questions. He arrived at the meeting with his father. Elvis was terribly nervous and was afraid that the captain would forbid Priscilla to see him. When the captain asked him why he, a grown man, needed young Priscilla, Elvis replied, "I will take care of her like no one else because I have very tender feelings for her." The enamored Priscilla was ready to go up to Elvis' bedroom, but he was adamant. First, he was constrained by his promise to her father. Second, he didn't want to break the law. Priscilla was a minor. Third, he remembered his mother's words that a decent girl wouldn't do this, which had imprinted on his further perception of male-female relationships as something bad and dirty. It was immediately clear that Priscilla was something special to him. His buddy Joe Esposito said, "She was like a blank sheet of paper. He set out to make her the way he wanted her to be." Priscilla did everything Elvis did, imitating him. He ate liters of yogurt, so did she. He drank coffee out of a big cup, she wanted one. He gave her his records, and she listened to them all day long. Priscilla's face began to appear alongside Elvis's on magazine covers and newspaper front pages, but he persisted in presenting her as a good friend. She hoped that when his term of service was over, he would take her back to the States with him. Until the last minute, she hoped. In March 1960, Elvis returned to America with Elizabeth Stefanik. Priscilla was grieving and wasn't sure if he would call her. "I thought he would go back to Hollywood. His life would be full, while I would go to school. I would think only of him. I would be like a little girl writing his name on scraps of paper every day." After 2 years of phone conversations, Elvis, by then separated from Anita and Elizabeth, invited Priscilla to Los Angeles. Captain Beaulieu put forward conditions before letting his adopted daughter go. Priscilla must live in the house of adult acquaintances of Elvis, spend every night in her own bed alone, fly first class, and drive her around the city must be a limousine. Elvis fulfilled all or nearly all of the conditions. Before Priscilla's arrival, he gathered his Memphis gang, pals, and nightlife friends, and warned that all partying was canceled. "This girl is very dear to me." She spent 2 weeks in Los Angeles. Elvis dressed her up to his liking, made her do a grown-up hairstyle and put on bright makeup. She began, like Elvis, to live by night, falling asleep by morning with the help of pills. On the first day, she threw herself into his arms, but he pulled her away. "I want the next time we meet, I want you to stay the way you are now." When Priscilla flew back to Germany 2 weeks later, her shocked parents marveled at the change. "Priscilla, what have you done to yourself?" Through threats and blackmail, Priscilla got her parents' consent to move to America. Elvis promised that under his care Priscilla would finish school in Memphis. Priscilla, 17, was allowed to remain living in Graceland on the condition that she attend a private Catholic school daily. Elvis bought her a car so she could drive to school, made her dye her hair coal black to make Priscilla look like himself. He took her to his dentist and had her fitted with snow-white dental crowns. He was passionately molding her into his ideal. Priscilla had no friends, only him, her king. Love made her cautious. There were certain rules. One had to stick to them. The more you knew, the longer you'd last. One had to always be on his side. She learned to control every breath she took while being around Elvis. He had affairs, but without her noticing. He avoided physical intimacy in every way possible. It's not time yet. I want it to be something to anticipate. After graduating from high school, Priscilla sat in Graceland, not knowing what to do. Elvis was often away shooting and recording albums. Elvis was furious when he learned that she was thinking of becoming a model. In the life of Elvis began a period of spiritual quest. He spent all his time reading metaphysical books. She, wanting to match, familiarized herself with Indian gurus, Thai monks, and swindlers of all stripes, which in their house became more and more. The older Priscilla became, the more often her parents reminded Elvis of the promise they had once made. Priscilla was considered his fiancée for several years. Presley's manager was concerned about the singer's image among female audience, due in particular his status as a bachelor. The wedding took place on May 1, 1967. Frank Sinatra's plane carried the newlyweds from Las Vegas to Palm Springs. After paying $15 for a marriage license, they became husband and wife. The wedding banquet cost $10,000. Humming the Hawaiian marriage song, Elvis, to the applause of friends, carried Mrs. Priscilla Beaulieu Presley into the bedroom of their new home. Their honeymoon took place in Palm Springs. The Memphis gang hung around the house almost all the time, but Priscilla was perfectly happy. She cooked for the whole bunch, made the beds in the whole house with linens, and actually hand-washed Elvis' clothes. One day, Priscilla realized that something was wrong with her. She was pregnant. Elvis forbade her to use protection, and she got pregnant right after the wedding. He was delighted. No one expected it to happen so soon. All 9 months of his wife's pregnancy, Presley looked happy, although a little confused. He often hugged Priscilla and wondered, how can such a tiny creature fit another baby girl? Liza Maria was born on February 1, 1968. For the entire 9 hours of Priscilla's labor pains, Elvis was by her side in the next room. A happy Elvis took the newborn baby girl in his arms. From that moment on, he completely cooled off to Priscilla. Neither exquisite lingerie, nor caresses, nor kisses helped. He did not understand how to behave with Priscilla, who became a mother. On April 20, 1968, Priscilla wrote in her diary, "Last night I was confused again. I put on black underwear and snuggled up to him. He was reading. I knew exactly what I wanted and tried to show it as frankly as possible. I kissed his hand, then each finger, then his neck and face. But I got nothing in return." She had become Elvis' wife and was no longer the woman he loved. Priscilla could not change anything about the situation, and they had to part ways. Officially, their marriage ended in October 1973. Priscilla left Elvis for a karate coach. Accustomed to nightlife in dark rooms, surrounded by bodyguards who protected us from reality, I suddenly realized that I wanted simpler pleasures that I could not share with Elvis. Priscilla will write in her book, "I wanted walks in parks, candlelight dinners, simple human laughter. I found that outside our house lies a huge world and I should find my place in it." P.S. Despite the divorce, they remained best friends. He still called her almost every day, as he once did in Germany, until his death.